Can you believe the question they gave McDaniel? Actually, well, let's go over that. What do you got, Sean? What do you got? Okay. All right. Joe Schad was not slamming Tua. The problem is what we talk about many, many times over, and it's your fault. Nobody else's. I don't blame anybody else. Let me ask you something. If you're in the Dolphin Nation, why are you listening to Stephen A. talk football? You know what, man? Mad props to Stephen A. Because for a guy that doesn't know jack shit about football, okay, because really, Stephen A. Smith knows nothing about football. He's a fucking ass clown. Let's just call it like it is. Okay? Listen to the man talk basketball, whatever, but he's just an ass clown that ESPN constantly uses for all kinds of things so he could just run his mouth and scream and say stupid shit like he says all the time, like he talks about players that aren't even playing, guys that are even out of the league or some like I mean, he has been busted over and over for constant mistakes and lazy takes because he has no knowledge of the game. But because they pay him a beautiful amount of $11 million, God bless him, bro. He's a monster. And he is a great lightning rod because he gets people going. And so, all of you out there, it's your fault. So, Screaming A goes out there and puts out some stupid video on ESPN while they're showing bombs, but he's talking about how Tua throws 2 and 4 yard passes, right? And, it's like, how many times do we have to go over this? And so then he starts the fire, and then others pick up on it. And now here I am talking about it, and I got to defend my man Joe Schad on this. Hey, Joe Schad, I ran his ass through the ringer already about the Tua stuff, but he's on board, dude. Like he's like up on the front of the bus with me driving it. So stop making what he was doing was asking the question because idiots are posing the question out there. And then you all get crazy and now you're going after Joe Schad like he's a bad dude or he's trying to whatever. And listen, dude, in the end, whatever, man. People are going to say whatever they're going to say. We had Poupart here saying that Teddy Bridgewater could do the same thing. And, I lost my mind on it because it's ridiculous. It's absolutely freaking stupid to think that Teddy Bridgewater could do anything that Tua does. So, it's just these things that go on, but you all got to relax, dude. And you got to be smarter than all of this. You got to stop listening to Stephen A. Smith. I keep telling you over and over and over again, listen to people, watch people that actually watch and cover the sport. All right? Stephen A. can talk basketball. That's where it ends, dude. He doesn't work hard enough to know about football or baseball or hockey or soccer or anything else that I've seen in any other sport. The guy knows basketball. He's well connected in basketball. He's fantastic in basketball. But his buffoonery, which is why they have him there, it's just to drop all kinds of bad hot takes. And why are they bad? Because, of course, he's unprepared. He's uneducated. What are you going to do? If you're stupid in football, how do you expect him to speak any kind of logic? Think about that. That's like me. Well, let me just start talking about rocket scientists or science or scientists. I can't do either one. You got to kind of know your boundaries, but at ESPN there are no boundaries. That's why it's such a terrible channel already at this point. It just is. You could get a couple of insiders for breaking news, and outside of that, bro, the channel is dog shit. So it's really all your fault. Stop blaming Stephen A. Blame your ass for watching him and then you allowing him to get you all riled up, because by you getting riled up, that means you actually think his opinion is worth something. So this is more, you know, directed at the public. You're the problem, not anybody else. The other guy ain't going to change. He's going to stay what he is, stupid at football, and he'll keep giving you stupid takes. But if you keep believing it or reacting to it, then they'll keep putting it up. If there's no reaction to it, he falls by the wayside. But they love the reaction. They love that it got under your craw and you guys got all freaked out about it. And now you're going after Joe Schad. And then that's a very ignorant way to go after Joe Schad, because Joe Schad was just presenting the idea that some possess, idiots like Stephen A. Okay. All right. And anybody else that thinks you can plug somebody else in there. Because if you think you can plug somebody else in there, you really don't understand football. You know, I put it this way, like Teddy Bridgewater or Mike White, the guys that have been here, and who else? And Skyler. Okay, none of those guys can do what Tua. Let me ask you: did any of those guys, were they labeled as one of the top high school quarterbacks in the country? Tua was. Any of those guys were they trained by somebody like a Trent Dilfer and said that's the greatest high school player I've ever coached? Tua was. Let me ask you: Mike White, Teddy Bridgewater, Skylar Thompson, did they come off the bench and win a national title? Tua did it. You know, it's just pure stupidity, bro. It's pure ignorance. Anybody that tells you can plug another guy in there. I heard the same shit with Tom Brady. And by the way, that's actually looking a lot harder than it was, isn't it? Because I heard that stuff where, oh, well, he only throws 5-yard pass, this, that. You don't understand. You have no idea how difficult it is to consistently be that good, putting the pass out there every single time. And it's not getting intercepted, and it's getting caught, and it's moving the chains, and you're winning games, and you're coming through in the clutch. That's super hard, dude. So then anybody can do what Joe Montana did, and anybody can do what Warren Moon did, and anybody can do what Kurt Warner did. That's just asinine, dude. It's just stupid. It's ignorant. The people that do it usually are pretty damn special. Mike White is not special. Never has been. How can a guy that throws more interceptions and touchdowns be special? Teddy Bridgewater, God bless him, he never had the enough athletic ability to be that guy. And Skylar Thompson, please, in his dreams, he could never be Tua. It's just, there's a level of ignorance out there. And it's not just Screaming A who knows nothing about it, but others think that stupid line that you can plug in somebody else there at that spot. Because you think it's Screaming A? No, he's not the only dummy. Because then people hear it and then they repeat the same stupid shit that somebody else says. It's just one of those things that put it this way. Usually that stuff comes from the people that initially did not believe in Tua. That's all. And they're just fighting the fight. And they're trying to take out the next, and they're trying to discredit this and discredit that. And every time he accomplishes something, they fall deeper into the abyss. And so since they're falling deeper into the abyss, they've got to reach and grab and tell you anything. You know? But it's just stupid and ignorant to think that you're just going to plug anybody in there. And I would play Mike McDaniel's soundbite. It's like 2 minutes and something. It's basically he does the same shit that Tua does. You know, it's like he didn't want to just make it about Tua, so he made it about the team. Because if he makes it about Tua, then it takes away from everybody else. And he was quick to, well, yeah, hey, Tyreek can run and Tua can throw, and this guy can get. But what happens if the 5 guys in the front don't block? So he used the child psychology stuff that he uses all the time on us in the media. You know what I'm saying? So, and I get what he was doing. He didn't want to come out and that's why he did basically say right at the beginning, like, I want to throw this podium over. And then he got into his PC rant. But he kind of gave you the moment right there when he says, I want to push this podium over, because he knows it's a stupid thought, theory, whatever you want to label it. He doesn't coach people like Tua. Nobody coaches those kind of quarterbacks. Once in a while, you get a dude. And Tua is a dude. And the problem is, too many of you have this, you've built up what you think a quarterback looks like. And they just rarely ever look like Drew Brees and Tua. They just don't look like that normally. Russell Wilson had to deal with the same shit early on in his career. I was a Russell Wilson guy when he got drafted, because one of the scouts that I know, he's no longer in the sport. He's retired now, but he was working for the team at that time, and he said Russ. Well, he was working for Carolina actually at that time, and he got drafted by Seattle, and they were scouting Russell, and the entire room said backup. He was the only one out of that staff that said there aren't 32 better in the league. You can win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson. And he was right. And Russell had to prove early on, because of his size and all that he was a playmaker. And then once he proved it, people then got off his ass. Now they're back on it because of everything else. He's gotten old and all that stuff. But it's once these people lost, they're not willing to take the L. It's hilarious. It's not like the dude is now trying to become a hell of a quarterback. No, dude. He was already a hell of a quarterback at every other level. This isn't something new to him. And so this is why, and this is why on the flip side, if you listen to our conversation with Joe, and we had some fun with it on the Herbert stuff and all that, because I did bust his balls on the Herbert stuff. And I basically told him, I told him yesterday, the problem was that you waffled. You first were on 2, and then you got off the 2, and then now you're back on again. You waffled. I didn't waffle. You thought I was shtick, but I didn't waffle. I stayed steadfast I knew Tua was a stud. I knew he can play. The only thing that scared the crap out of me was his injury history. In fact, I found a audio clip and retweeted it. It's on our Twitter feed. I think I put it up like 2 days ago, or 3 days ago. It's from 2020. And it was the moment where I said, screw the injuries. You got to draft him. You got to draft him. Because if he becomes a player, you will regret it for the rest of your life. And that was my problem. I knew he could play. I knew he was a stud. I knew he was a phenomenal passer. Something you cannot teach. And I truly believe that. What he that gift that some of these quarterbacks have, you don't teach that, man. And he has it. But I was terrified, obviously, of him breaking down, which is the only thing that I think is a legitimate, concern with Tua. I never was concerned about his arm. I never was concerned about his ability, his intelligence, his accuracy, ball placement, anticipatory skills. He had all of that. I watched it all the damn time in Alabama. I was amazed at it. The idiots are like, whoa, he plays with great receivers. That doesn't matter, dude. You still got to throw it in stride. You still got to lead the receiver. And if you look at the passes, this is why when, with Tannehill, the problem is sometimes you look at a completed pass and you just see a completed pass. I don't. If I see the guy had to stop and turn around or reach down or reach up or whatever, I call it a bad pass. I don't care if it was completed. In my eyes, the quarterback threw a bad pass. Because if the guy's running in stride, you got to lead him so he can continue to gain more yards for you. You got to put it over the top. You got to put it where the defender can't get it. I need to see those things. That's what I never saw from Tannehill. And then people would look at his stat. Oh, well, he played. No, he didn't, dude. The receivers had to work too hard for their yards. And that's not your job as a quarterback. Your job as a quarterback is to make their lives easy so you can make your team's life easy. So anybody and everybody, whether it's Screaming A or anybody else that is telling you that you can put somebody else in there, okay, and they tell you some guy, a Teddy Bridgewater or a Mike White, then that's just somebody that was wrong from the get-go, and they just kind of continue to fight the whole philosophy of it. That's all. And instead, take the L, dude. The kid's going to be a great quarterback. The only thing that stops him from ever being that will be injuries. That's it. His intelligence is at another level. And that's what people just don't understand. They're all talking about how he manipulates the defense now. How many young quarterbacks do that shit? Mike White manipulating anything with his eyes? Does Teddy Bridgewater manipulate anything with his eyes? Does Skylar Thompson manipulate anything with his eyes? Does Ryan Tannehill do anything with his eyes? Did Johnny Manziel? I don't know. You tell me. Justin Herbert doesn't do it. Listen to me. Justin Herbert can't manipulate defenses with his eyes. Take the L. Okay? Take the L. Lie on the sword. I was wrong about Tua. He's a hell of a player. I'm going to stop making up excuses and moving the goalposts because the guy is a hell of a player. What had to improve was the stuff around him that was dog shit. Like a lot of the stuff that happened to Marino, that he just never had enough around him in order to win. And that just happens. You don't want to give him a defense. You don't want to give him a running game. This is what happens to you. You win a lot of games. You can get in the playoffs. Maybe you sneak into a Super Bowl once, but you're not going to win it because you don't have a defense to stop San Francisco. What are we going to do? You don't have a running game to keep Joe Montana off the field. Again, and we heard this, it's everything with Tua is different than everybody else. Oh, Tua needs everything. Well, so did Marino, bro. Montana had it. He had a great offensive line. He had a great running game. He had a great tight end. He had a great fullback, and he had great receivers. And he had a great defense, and he had one of the five best offensive minds and coaches in the history of the game. Is that enough for you? I'm just wondering, is that enough for you? And I still don't take anything away from Montana. Not a damn bit. Why? Because I saw him in the game's biggest moments. Let it go, man. That's what I would tell the two losers out there. You lost the argument, bro. The guy's a heck of a player. He's well on his way to maybe even being the MVP again, by the way, because he was kind of on pace for that last year. This year, he's in an even better shape, mentally, physically, everything, offense, and he's on pace. Let it go, dude. This isn't by accident. People don't do this by accident. Okay? This is a guy that's been a winner his whole life. That's how it goes with Tua Tagovailoa. If he's on your team, you're going to win. He even won with a guy that didn't want him to win in Brian Flores. let it go, dude. Just let it go already.